All right. Uh, Thank you everyone for being here this evening. My name is Yolana Wassersug. I'm Assistant Registrar Student Recruitment here at the University of King's College. Thanks for taking some time this evening to join us. Tonight we have a session for you that is all about the King's Foundation Year Program, also known as FYP, FYP. So you'll hear us refer to it as Foundation Year Program or FYP during the course of this session. FYP is a very special first-year program. It's a different offering that makes King's pretty unique. It's a different way of doing the first year of your degree. And I've got a team of panelists here who are going to explain to you how the program works and talk to you about why it's so special. So I'm going to start by just sharing my screen so we can take a look at a PowerPoint presentation together. There's also going to be a lot of opportunities for you all to ask questions, and learn more about the program. So I hope that you can see my screen right now. Before I launch in, I just want to introduce myself again. So my name is Yolana. I'm the Assistant Registrar here at King's. I'm also a graduate of the University of King's College, and I did the Foundation Year program myself. And I'd also like to acknowledge where we are. I know that you're all joining us for a virtual session, so you are tuning in from all different parts of Canada or even joining us from other countries as well. I am here in Mi'kma'ki, the ancestral territory of the Mi'kmaq people. I'm in Ukjibuktuk, Halifax, Nova Scotia, which is where I'm born. And I'm really proud to be from this place and to learn more about the Indigenous peoples in this land. So let's launch right in. So today you're going to hear from a couple presenters. I'll be introducing you to Dr. Daniel Brandis, who's the director of the Foundation Year program, Dr. Michelle Wilband, the Associate Director of Student Support for the Foundation Year program. I'll also talk a little about the program. And I also have two students who both did the Foundation Year program last year who are online. And when we open it up for the Q&A, you'll be able to ask them questions directly about what their experience was like doing Foundation Year. This is our agenda for today. So Foundation Year program has a very unique structure, and it covers some really interesting content. So I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Brandis soon to explain how readings, lectures, and tutorials all work in the Foundation Year program, and also talk a little bit about how students get grades in this program. So the essays that they write and the way that their exams work. After Dr. Brandis has covered readings, lectures, tutorials, essays, and exams, I'll turn it over to Dr. Wilband to talk about how students get support in this program and what resources there are to guide you as you move through a program like Foundation Year. And then I'll talk a little bit about the way your schedule would look if you were a student in this program. And after that, we'll open it up for a Q&A. You can definitely type questions into the chat or into the Q&A button on your screen. You can save them to the end of the Q&A, or if I spot them a little earlier, I'll try to address them as well. So with that, I'm going to mute my microphone and hand it over to Dr. Daniel Brandis.
Great. Thank you so much, Yolana, and thank you all for being here with us this evening. As Yolana mentioned, my name is Daniel Brandis, and I'm the director of the program. And I'm going to just take a few minutes to talk to you in the first place about the book list, which you see on the screen in front of you. The book list is probably the central selling point of the Foundation Year program. Most students we talk to tell us that their primary motive in coming to the Foundation Year program was to be able to read some of the books that they discovered on our book list when they first took a look at it. And so if you just cast your eyes over it, you can see that the program is divided into 6 sections. And we move forward chronologically in time from the ancient world all the way up to the contemporary world. So we move from ancient texts like the Epic of Gilgamesh and Homer's Odyssey, the Hebrew Bible, Greek tragedy, and Plato's Republic in the ancient world, all the way up through time, through the Middle Ages, the Renaissance, the 14th and 15th centuries, the Age of Reason, 16th, 17th, and 18th centuries, the era of revolutions, that's the 19th century, and then finally, section 6, the contemporary world, the 20th and 21st century. And if you look at this list, you can see that we've suspended the traditional boundaries between different disciplines. So you can see that in any given section, we're reading works of history, works of literature, works of theater. You see that there are works in the natural and social sciences as well. So it's an opportunity for you to examine these fundamental books, these foundational books, and to read them one against the other. What do I mean by that? Well, in a more conventional first-year program, if you were taking 5 courses, one in English, one in history, one in theater, one in physics, let's say, you would have to juggle the requirements of all 4 of those courses all on their own. But you would never have the opportunity to read, for instance, as you see up here, Homer's Odyssey and Plato's Republic in the same class, right? You would read one of them in a philosophy class and the other in Greek theater or literature class. But in the foundation year program, we suspend those traditional boundaries and we allow you to read these works of theater and philosophy and history and science together. And what binds them together is the period in which they were created. And so the belief of the program is that the meaning of these great works will be shaped in part by when they emerged on the scene. And so you get to chart that course and trace the emergence of these great works and the emergence of words like truth and beauty and justice and power as they emerged over the course of the tradition. And that's one of the great selling points of the program that recommends it, is not only that you get to examine those works, but you get to examine them in their own time as they emerged. Okay, so I now want to talk to you a little bit about the structure of the foundation year program's day. And the day begins with a lecture. So every student in the program, let's say 225 students in a given year, all of them will attend lecture together in the morning from 9:30 to 11:30. And the lecture will be on a text that all of them have read in advance, that they will have looked at, that they will have been given a schedule in advance, so they'll know what the lecture of the day is. They'll have prepared for that lecture, and they'll come to Alumni Hall, the great lecture hall on our King's campus, for a lecture. The lecture will be 2 hours long, 9:30 to 11:30, with a 10-minute break in the middle for a cup of coffee or to stretch your legs. Then at the end of the 2-hour lecture, students will break off into their tutorials. And this is one of the most important parts of the foundation year program. Tutorial is made up of 12 to 15 students. So you can see there's a picture of me in one of my tutorials. And you can see that the group is small. It's an intimate setting with a small number of students. And students are placed in tutorials at the beginning of the year, and they stay with that same group of students over the course of the entire year. So although they will have a number of different tutors, their tutorial mates will remain unchanged over the course of the year. And that's very important. We do that because we want students to feel comfortable and safe and at home in their tutorial space and confident that they can express their opinions with people that they've been studying with over the course of the year. So we do this so that students become familiar with a certain small group of friends and members of their own cohort, colleagues, in order to express themselves as fully and freely as they can do in tutorial. So tutorial lasts for 1 hour, and the tutorials are either at 11:30, 12:30, or 1:30. So you will be assigned either the 11:30, 12:30, or 1:30 shift, and your tutorial will be at that time every day over the course of the year. Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. The Thursday lectures, so I should pause here to point out there's a difference between the arts stream in FIP and the science stream. The arts stream is worth 4 credits and the science stream is worth 3 credits. Science students or students in the science stream don't take FIP lectures on Thursday, whereas art students do. But I think that issue will be talked about by Yolana later on. So I'll just mention here that in tutorial, in my opinion, is the beating heart of the program. It's where a lot of the reading and learning and teaching is done. It's one of the central virtues of the program that we have this tutorial structure. We're very proud of it. And now let me maybe say something about how students are graded in the foundation year program by way of essays and exams. So essays, students in the foundation year program are asked to produce a single essay every 2 weeks, and that is all. There are no other issues to concern them that they have to worry about organizing. All they have to focus on at any given time is the lecture that is due every 2 weeks. I think I saw a question there. Yeah, the question is, what days are lectures? So the lectures in the foundation year program are on Mondays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. Tuesdays, there's no lecture. Tuesdays are off in the foundation year program. Science students will also have Thursdays off, but art students in FIP have lectures on Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Just returning to my point about essays and exams, the tutors in the program will come up with a set of questions for every essay, and that's every 2 weeks. So every 2 weeks, students will get a list of maybe 15 to 20 possible essay questions, and they will choose one question to write their essay on. And they'll produce that essay every 2 weeks. And the beautiful thing is that every student in the program is working on that same essay together over the course of that 2 weeks. So it naturally is the subject of conversation among students in residence or in the cafeteria, in the quad. It's an opportunity for students to talk to one another outside of lecture hall about the things they're learning about in the lecture hall. So the grades that students will achieve on those essays is in large part what will determine their final grade on the year. But in addition to those essays that are produced every 2 weeks, there are two other forms of grading that students are required to students will experience over the course of the year. One is the midterm exam, and there are two of those, one in December and then another at the end of the year. And that midterm exam is meant to test your general knowledge and ensure that you've been doing the reading. So these are questions on the midterm exam from across the curriculum, and they're general questions just to ensure that students have been keeping up with the reading and are able to speak in a knowing way about the text we've looked at. And then finally, the oral exams. Those are 15-minute exams that students have, again, twice a year, one at the midway point and one at the end of the year, with two professors or tutors in the program. And they speak to the tutors for 15 minutes. It's a kind of a casual conversation where the tutors will ask questions about what the students have taken up and what they've learned over the course of the year thus far. So students in the program end up loving the oral exams. They don't realize they're going to love them going into it. They sometimes feel a little nervous about sharing their ideas with tutors, but there's no need to feel nervous. The oral exams are meant to be quite gentle and conversational. They're not really an interrogation, they're more a conversation. And that's it. So the whole grade is determined by way of your bi-weekly essays, your midterm exams, and your oral exams. And those are the only grades that students in the program get. And from those grades, we will determine everyone's final grade. And I'll just close my remarks by saying the program is set up in such a way as to allow students to focus in a way that might not be possible in a more conventional program on their readings and on their writing. We want students to be able to leave to one side the challenges of organizing 5 different classes. The program does that all for you. So you can direct all of your energy and all your attention on the content of the course, what you're actually learning. And one of the great advantages of this way of proceeding is that you become a much stronger, more confident writer over the course of the year. You're writing an essay every 2 weeks. So, you know, by October or November, when you look back at the papers you produced in September, you'll already notice a very great difference. And many of the students that come to FIP have never written an essay in high school, have never been asked to write a scholarly essay. And we know that. We know that going in. And for that reason, we're quite gentle as we can be with students, trying to teach them how to produce university level papers. And that's a gradual thing. It comes in time. And it's just a privilege, really, for all of us teaching in the program to be able to share this these sort of formative experiences with students in the program. So I'm delighted to be the director. I'm delighted to be here with you. And of course, I'm happy to take any questions later on in this event. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Daniel, for all of that. I'm going to turn it over now to Dr. Michelle Wilband to talk a little bit about the way we can support students who are doing foundation year program.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Yolana, and thank you, Daniel, and thank all of you participants for being here with us tonight to learn about the foundation year program. So now that you have more of a sense of the content of the foundation year program and the kind of work that's assigned and something about the daily rhythm of the program, now I'd like to speak a bit about the supports and resources that we make available to our students to ensure that they have the best chances of success in this wonderful and challenging and very exciting program. So as Yolana has already mentioned, I'm the Associate Director, Student Support in FIP. And as that title suggests, I'm here to offer academic support to all FIP students. So this means that I'm really the primary point person that's here to assist and advise our students as they're learning to manage a new kind of academic workload and to help them navigate whatever challenges they're facing as they make that transition from high school to university level studies. So ultimately, my goal as associate director is to support the learning of our students. And I do whatever I can to enable them to engage with the content that Dr. Brandis was just talking about, so that they can participate as fully as they can in what is truly very often for students, a life-changing and deeply enjoyable first year of university study. So that means that I'm available to discuss any of these challenges and concerns that might arise for students, whether it has to do with their assignments and meeting deadlines, or with the readings and understanding the content of what they're reading, or really any aspect of their FIP experience. Very often, I work with students who require some form of special academic accommodation, whether it's because of longer-term barriers and challenges that they face and deal with, or because of short-term illness or unforeseen circumstances that just come up in the course of life. For longer-term accommodations for students, I work with the Accessibility Center at our sister university, Dalhousie University. And the Accessibility Center there at Dal, which is just a 3-minute walk from our cozy little King's Quad, is equipped with all of the expertise and resources to provide our FIP students with a personalized accessibility plan and other specialized resources that they might need. And just as an aside, this is one of the great many advantages of this special relationship between King's College and Dalhousie University. King's students enjoy all of the benefits of a small and intimate campus, but at the same time, they have access through Dalhousie to resources and amenities that are normally only available to students at larger institutions. And so the Accessibility Center that I work with to accommodate students is just one instance of this. I'm also a teacher in FIP, as well as being the Associate Director Student Support. So I lecture in the program, and I also conduct tutorials with students every day. And so I'm immersed in the content of the program along with the students and along with my colleagues on the teaching staff. And as a teacher in FIP, I can tell you that student support in this program really begins in the classroom. Our students benefit tremendously from the personalized attention of their professors, which is made possible by those small tutorial class sizes that Dr. Brandis was just talking about. FIP students get to know their professors and their fellow students very, very well over the course of the year. They read together, they learn together, they speak with one another every day. And so learning is already happening in the foundation year program by design within a supportive community environment. Students have access to their professors. Their professors are available and eager and willing to talk with them. So students receive plenty of one-on-one attention from their tutorial instructors, and they get regular, tailored, directed feedback on their academic work. So all of this makes my job in student support much, much easier, I can tell you, since FIP students already receive an uncommonly high level of academic support and attention directly from their teachers. But beyond this, we also have a dedicated writing instructor on staff who we like to call our writing coach. And he meets with students one-on-one to go over their work and to help them implement that tailored feedback that they're getting from their teachers so that they're in a position to improve from essay to essay and on their future assignments. Our writing coach is very experienced. He's excellent at what he does, and he's able to help students, whether they're struggling with their assignments or whether they're doing very well. There's always room for improvement for all of us here learning together, and our writing coach is there for all students so that they can meet their full capacity and full potential. And he also offers more general workshops to all students on academic writing and on FIP-specific assignments and how to approach them. And so all FIP students have access to this guidance as they are learning the ropes of university-level academic work. As Dr. Brandis has already made clear in his remarks earlier, in FIP, we're really engaged in a common project of learning together as an intellectual community. And in my experience, this sense of community, this learning from and with others that we're coming to know over the course of the year makes all the difference in the academic growth and in the success of our students in the program. So in this spirit of doing this work together, we offer regular events for students to come together outside of the formal classroom setting to support one another in their academic work. So for instance, on weekends before an essay assignment is due, we regularly hold an event in the evening called Right Now, where students can come together in a quiet space to work and to make progress on their written assignments. Students bring their laptops, they bring books, they bring whatever materials they need to work on their essay. Light snacks are provided for them by the college, and members of the teaching staff or the resident staff, or both, join in and take the opportunity to make headway on their own scholarly work alongside the students. So Right Now is really just dedicated time and space for students to work on their essays alongside others doing the very same work or very similar work. And it's been very helpful for students just to keep them on track, to keep their focus on their assignments, and to help them avoid that great famous university students pitfall, procrastination. Also, periodically on weeknights, we offer a similar event to Right Now, but it's called Read Now. And this is an opportunity for students to come together, not to do their writing assignments, but to do their reading assignments together as a group. So in these events, one or more members of the teaching staff will come in the evening and students will join them and they'll read the next day's reading assignment or text out loud together. And this works really well, especially if we're reading a play for the next day. And dramatic readings are very popular. These events tend to be extremely well attended by students, and they just really bring a lot of fun into the work of reading and engaging the material that we're studying in the program. Now, all of these academic supports and resources that I've been talking about are, of course, designed to help our students succeed and meet the immediate demands of the foundation year program so that they can get the most out of this unique opportunity and experience, so that they can really engage with the content that we're interested in this program. And it's profoundly fun and enriching and worthwhile for its own sake. It's worth bearing in mind, though, beyond that, that the academic skills and the broad learning that students are cultivating as they go through FIP it's worthwhile for its own sake, but it's also going to be instrumental beyond FIP throughout their university careers and really throughout life, whatever career path they end up choosing to follow. And in that sense, it really is a foundation year. So for instance, as Dr. Brandis was mentioning earlier, one of the signatures of FIP is the care that we devote to cultivating the skill of academic essay writing. And this really allows students to hone and refine their reasoning and their communication skills. By tackling essay after essay after essay all year long, students learn through practice to deliver a clear and compelling message in writing. And as I'm sure you can imagine, this ability translates to any situation in the real world where email correspondence or social media posting or any form of written communication is required, which today is more or less every workplace you can imagine. So whether or not a FIP graduate is interested in pursuing a scholarly path or an academic career, the ability to express themselves with precision and clarity and to write persuasively, which they'll learn to do in FIP, it's a life skill that serves them in just about any field. In a similar way, our emphasis in the program on reading lots and lots of different texts from different disciplines across different genres, this cultivates in our students the ability to absorb and synthesize large and diverse amounts of material and to recognize patterns and connections across various sources. And I can't tell you how often I've heard that this is fabulous preparation for law school in particular. and a legal career. But really, FIP graduates are at an advantage in any area where research or integration of evidence and drawing inferences is demanded. And again, our dual approach to instruction, the fact that we have lecture in the morning and a tutorial session each day, allows students to cultivate, on the one hand, the ability to listen, to pay attention in a sustained way to what someone else is saying about a topic, as they do in lecture. And they also cultivate the skill and capacity to speak in real time and to contribute to dialogue and discussion about the same topic, as they do in tutorial and in oral exams. So this integrated learning experience allows students to practice testing out and formulating their opinions, and they learn how to exchange informed ideas with others and to respectfully disagree with one another. And they learn the skill and ability to communicate with one another respectfully in this way in the classroom. And it's hard to imagine a professional or even a personal situation where this doesn't serve them well. And so it doesn't surprise me in the slightest that FIP graduates go on to succeed and set themselves apart in the wide array of different careers that they do. Yolana could speak more to this than me, but I know personally that we have FIP graduates all over in many different fields, in healthcare, in academia, in education, in law, journalism, information technology, in government, and on and on. So our graduates go on to succeed all over the place. So thank you very much. I'll pass it back over to Yolana now.
Thank you so much, both of you, for all of that. It was incredibly helpful. I'm going to just touch on an important thing that Dr. Wilban just mentioned. Michelle just mentioned that foundation year program is a very foundational year, but it's also setting you up for skills that are relevant in the rest of your degree. So I do, before we open it up for Q&A, I do just want to mention the way that FIP is built into a degree. This is just a first year program. It's not the end all and be all of what we offer through King's. On the slide here, you can see our campus at King's surrounded on 3 sides by our friends and neighbors at Dalhousie. So students who do the foundation year program at King's are starting the first year of what will typically be a 4-year bachelor's degree in arts, sciences, journalism, or music. The foundation year program is designed to be a jumping off point for any one of those degrees. You can do FIP in your first year and move smoothly into the second year of your arts, journalism, science, or music degree without missing a beat, without adding extra time to your degree. I want to show you how that first year schedule might look for you. So keep in mind, you might be choosing between arts, science, journalism, or music. You may have no idea yet what you want to major in, and I want to reassure you that's completely okay. You do not need to know what your major is in right now. You don't even need to know in first year or even second year for that matter. You can declare your major later in your degree. But you might have a sense of what kind of degree you want to get. And what I want to show you about foundation year is that the way this program is structured is streamlined. So instead of taking 5 random classes in your first year, 5 classes that might all be taught in different buildings with different professors who all have different expectations from you, who all have different deadlines for assignments, the foundation year program is super streamlined. So let me show you a sample schedule for a FIP art student. So a FIP student who is planning to get an arts degree. And this student has chosen to take French as an elective class that they're going to take alongside FIP. This is their whole schedule. So as you can see, every Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, this hypothetical student is going to the foundation year program lecture every morning around 9:30 to 11:30, 9:35 to 11:25. In the afternoon, they meet with their tutorial group, that nice small classroom group that Daniel was talking about. And then on Tuesdays and Thursdays, they have their French class, which is going to be taught next door through our partner school at Dal. Now, I want to be clear, if you are an art student, you don't need to choose French. You have a wealth of options that you could choose. I actually took first year Italian. I also thought taking a language could be fun. But you could do psychology or political science or history of science and technology. You can do tons of things in your first year. If you're a journalism student, on Tuesdays, you'll be taking the Foundations of Journalism class. If you're a music student, you'll probably be taking an elective that you've chosen from the music department. So a wide range of choices, but you can see that this hypothetical student who I've laid out for you here has a very structured schedule. Their days are extremely predictable. They sleep in really nice and late every Tuesday, which I'm sure they enjoy very much. Let me show you another sample schedule for a student that's doing FIP as part of their science degree. Daniel already mentioned this earlier, but science students don't come to FIP on Thursdays. So instead of doing it 4 days a week, they're doing it 3 days a week. This allows science students room in their schedule to take both a science and a math class in their first year. So again, an extremely structured schedule and predictable schedule for our science student. And this hypothetical science student that I've chosen is taking first year biology as their science credit. And for a math class, they're going to take the intro stats class, which is a statistics class that we often recommend for students in the life sciences, because it's a great introductory math course for any life or health sciences. So you can see that this student has foundation year program lecture every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday morning, and they follow that up with tutorial. On Tuesday mornings, they also go to their biology lecture. And on both Tuesday and Thursday afternoons, you can see in the little green box, they go to their bio lab. And on Tuesday and Thursday, around the middle of the day, they've got their stats class, and their stats tutorial also fits into their schedule neatly on Mondays. Now, again, this is just a sample schedule. If you were a science student, you don't need to choose biology. It could be physics, chemistry, psychology, any one of many options offered through our partner institution, Dalhousie. But the main point I'm trying to get across is that these first year schedules are extremely streamlined, super predictable, and don't involve a lot of overlapping deadlines, running around between different buildings and departments, and give you a lot more time to focus on reading, spending time doing the extracurriculars you love, maybe even having a part-time job on campus, all of those things that allow you to customize your university experience. So at this point, I'd really like to open it up for a Q&A. And before I do, I'd like to introduce you to our two student panelists. We still have quite a bit of time for questions, which is really wonderful. So if I can ask our student panelists to turn on your cameras, unmute your mics. Great. And I'd love it if you could introduce yourselves. Catherine, do you want to start with introducing yourself?
Yeah, I can start. Hi, my name's Catherine. I grew up in Sudbury, Ontario, and I moved to Halifax last year to do the foundation year program in science. And now I'm in my second year at King's, pursuing a Bachelor of Science in biochemistry and economics. What was really appealing about the foundation year program was the ability to practice like writing and speaking and improve communication skills.
Awesome, thank you. Alexandra, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name's Alexandra. I am an international student from Sweden. I am in my second year and I am currently majoring in political science with a minor in commerce. Most of my my major and my minor are both at Dalhousie. However, I am taking history of science technology as elective currently at King's, so I'm still very involved in the campus life on King's. I decided to come to King's because I thought that the foundation year program was so unique, and I'd never heard of anything like it before. And I found out about King's through a friend who goes to King's as well, that I met in Portugal a few years ago. So it was very random, but I decided to pack my bags and move over specifically for this program. And I am, very, very happy that I did it.
Awesome. Thank you to you both. So at this point, you can either use the chat or the Q&A feature in Zoom to ask any questions you have about foundation year program, either to our student panelists or to Michelle or Daniel or me, about the way the program works, what to expect from it, how the program fits into a degree, I don't know, what our favorite books are, any of those, and many more. I'll give you all a minute to think about questions you might be curious about. And perhaps while you're thinking about questions that you have, maybe I'll open it up with a question to get us started. And I'll throw this question at Daniel or at Michelle. So both of you have been working and teaching in the foundation year program for a while now. And so you're reading through these books every year. And I wanted to ask, does it get boring? What do you learn every time you redo this program and read through your books with your students?
That's a great question, Yoli. I must say, I've been teaching the foundation year program for almost 20 years, and I was a student in the foundation year program before I came back as a professor. It does not get boring. It's true that there are certain books that we have read over and over and over again, certain texts that are staples of the program. So just to give you an example, Shakespeare's play, The Tempest, is a regular text that we study in FIP. And you would think that after 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, it would get boring. But the play is just so nourishing. There's so much there. And in large part, we choose the books that we choose because there's so much there. They resist any fixed single interpretation, and they constantly generate new interpretations. So I do feel more comfortable and at home with the books that I've read many times, but I never feel bored with them. I never feel like I've got to the bottom of them. I always feel like there's more to them that I have yet to explore. So no, happily, I'm not bored of any of them.
Awesome. That's a great answer. I'm glad to hear it. Okay, so we do have a couple questions that have popped into our chat, into our Q&A feature. So one of these questions is a really good one. It's, what's the social life like at King's? Is it fun to go to this university? What's it like outside of academics? So maybe Alexandra or Catherine, if you'd like to speak to some of the extracurriculars that you've been doing, or the groups, society clubs, the things you do for fun outside of school. And I can try to fill it in with some of the other things that are happening on our very hustling, bustling, vibrant campus.
Yeah, I can speak to some of the like social life aspects at King's. One thing that's always fun is the on-campus bar, which is the ward room. So that's in the basement of the Academic Arts Administration building, I believe it's called. And they have different themed nights that you can go out to. So I think the other day they had like early 2000s night or something where they play different music, or they have open mics. You can go out if you like singing or poetry reading, I suppose, go to the bar. And then there's also the King's Theatrical Society, which I haven't been involved with them, but I've gone to go see some of their plays, and those are always good. And one of the fun things they do every year is Classics in the Quad, which is usually a lot of first-year students on the stairs. If you can see the slideshow, the stairs right there in front of the library, they'll go out and do like a classics play. That's fun. And also another thing for social things, if you're interested in clubs or stuff at Dalhousie, so let's say you want to do like the rowing team, or like the environmental society at Dalhousie looked cool, you also have the opportunity to participate in all those as a King's student. So that's some aspects of social life at King's.
Yeah, I can just add on to a few things as well. Because the campus is so small and the residences are so close together. I mean, it's a perfect size because you are always seeing all your friends on campus. We have a lot of little residence parties, and one of them is the Dante party, which is basically, well, if you come to King's, which you should, then you're gonna read Dante. But yeah, everyone dresses up, and we have so many little parties like that based around what we're reading in FIP. So everyone's involved. And there's also the King's Gym, which is you can see in the photo, it's like right to the right of the library. But I love using the King's Gym. There's a weight room, cardio room. You can shoot some hoops with your buddies there. But it's great to also be able to work with Dalhousie because I'm on the Dalhousie sailing team. So I do that at Dalhousie, but I'm also at the same time fully engaged in everything that King's has to offer. And yeah, the small quad is great. Sorry, my fire alarm is going off.
Oh no. Thank you both for answering that question. I think I'll just kind of highlight that. So things like Classics on the Quad, where our theater society performs a Greek play on the steps of the library, or things like the Dante themed party on residence, I think are a really good example of the fact that at King's we often don't make that big a difference or distinction between having fun and our academic life. Like I think we like to learn in the way we like to play, and we like to play in the way we like to learn. By which I mean FIP is a small, close-knit program, and we're a small, close-knit campus. We want to be close to each other and enjoy ourselves and experience fun new things together. So I will say there's lots of different types of clubs and societies on our campus. One thing that's also true about the social life at King's is no fraternities or sororities on our campus. That is not the way we like to have fun, because fraternities and sororities tend to be pretty exclusive, and we like to keep our fun inclusive on our campus. So that's something to keep in mind about the social life of the campus. So great question about social life on campus. We've got a couple other awesome questions here. One of them is there a limit to the number of programs you can take in your first year? I think that the person who's asking this question might be asking about if there's a limit to the number of classes potentially you can take in first year. And to the person who's asking that question, if you want to clarify, please, if I'm not answering your question, please do clarify. But the basic gist of it is that foundation year program is going to fill the majority of your requirements for first year with that one program. So if you are an arts, journalism, or music student, FIP is going to count as 4 out of the 5 total required classes that you will need per semester. And if you're a science student, FIP counts as the three of the total 5 that you need, which leaves room in your schedule for 2 more, 1 science and 1 math. We would not advise trying to take more than 5 classes per semester in first year. It is possible, I think, with permission to take a course overload. I would not recommend it for a first year student. But you can certainly talk to an academic advisor for more advice about that. Okay, great. There's a question here about how residence is set up for King's students. So Catherine or Alexandra, would either of you like to talk about like what it's like to live in residence on campus at King's?
Yeah, living on res, as I was mentioning a little earlier, it's so there are 3 different types of rooms you can have. You can have a single room, you can have a double room, which is when you live with your roommate in the same room. And then there is the bays room, which is 2 separate rooms, but you have a door connecting you guys together. And then you have like 1 door, so whoever has the in room would have to walk through their buddy's room. But living on res is, I couldn't have asked for a better like living experience from a university. I felt like it was perfect. You wake up, you get to know everyone on your floor so well, and the dining hall is so close, and it's perfect when it's just snowing, and you get Halifax's terrible winter for, well, I think it's quite bad. Maybe it's not bad for you Canadians, but you just walk over, you eat your meal, and then you go down to the galley or the ward room, play some pool, you go to the library. Really, you don't need to leave King's campus because you essentially have everything you need there. And I've had so many different friends living in all of the residence buildings, and it would just be a 30-second walk, everything is so close and it is so convenient. And the King's faculty and everyone who works at King's really does everything they can to make sure that your stay is like comfortable, and there's always security on campus, which makes me feel very safe. So yeah.
Yeah, another thing with living in residence too and taking the foundation year program is so essays are usually due Monday, and so the weekend before essays are due, there's often, like in common rooms or spaces, you'll find students just all working on writing out things and bouncing around ideas, and that's always fun. And it's there's also common rooms. There's nice common room spaces where you can gather and write out things. And I'm a big fan of like watching movies and all that kind of stuff. So I watched a lot of movies with different friends in the common room spaces at King's Residence my first year.
Yep, all of those things are true. I'll add a couple more quick things about residents. There's a lot of great support in residence. There's a team of resident staff, including our dons and junior dons, who live with you in residence and are there to support you in any way you need. The other thing I'll say about residence is there's also a meal hall, the Prince Hall, which has really great options. There are some common space kitchens on campus that you can use to cook your own food. And one other thing to keep in mind about residence is that that is a separate application process. So if you've applied to King's for admission, that's awesome. We'd love to send you a letter of admission to King's. You also do need to fill out a separate residence application for your spot in residence. So I would definitely encourage you to do that if that's the situation that you're in. Okay, so I'm seeing another some quick and easy, quick to answer questions, and then some questions that merit longer conversations. So here's a quick one. Do we have an a cappella group on our campus? Great question. We have the King's Chapel Choir, and we also have a chorus, which is open to students, staff, and faculty who all want to learn how to sing more and want to sing together. Maybe not a traditional a cappella group. They're often accompanied by a musician. We have an organist on campus, Gabriel O'Brien, who plays the organ really beautifully. So if that doesn't sound like the type of a cappella group you'd want to be a part of, the person who asked that question, start your own club. Any student on campus can start a club if they want to. Like I said, as long as it's inclusive, you can start it. Here's a question that I want to hand over to either Daniel or Michelle to speak to. And the question is, are there any Indigenous professors / tutors? How does FIP include Indigenous representation in texts and discussions?
I'm happy to answer that question. That's an excellent question. I would say that the foundation year program and really the faculty at King's in general are increasingly occupied with this question concerning our relationship to and our obligation to Indigenous peoples. Our most recent hire in the foundation year program, our most recent tenure track hire, is an Indigenous scholar, an Indigenous person, Tim Clark, who's outstanding, a young man, and he has really helped to diversify our faculty. And it's also the case that our curriculum over the last several years has become increasingly diversified in this direction. We read the poetry of Joy Harjo last year, fabulous poet laureate. And this year we're reading Marie Clements, talking about the Indigenous experience in the Second World War. And I think that these commitments, both in terms of faculty diversification and the curriculum, testify to a real sensitivity on the part of the faculty, certainly, but also our students at King's to these questions concerning the Indigenous peoples of Canada. And I'm proud of that. I'm proud of that fact. And I think that my colleagues and the students at King's are proud of it as well. It's an excellent question.
I also wanted to add, this webinar session is all about foundation year program. We're doing another webinar next week that's all about our School of Journalism. And obviously there are many FIP students that are planning to do journalism as well. So there's also Indigenous faculty in the journalism program, namely Trina Roach, Rogers Chair of Journalism, who is herself a very prominent journalist who has a long career working with APTN, among other news outlets. And King's also has just this year launched a brand new support network for Indigenous students, especially students who are entering our journalism program. We call this our cohort program. It is specifically for Mi'kmaq students. And it includes some new supports on campus, like our new auntie in residence, Emily Pictou Roberts, who's available on campus to support Indigenous students. And also it creates 3 designated seats in our journalism program for Mi'kmaq students who are planning to study journalism. So you can definitely learn more about that at our journalism webinar next week, or get in touch with me to learn more if that sounds like something that would apply to you.
Do you mind if I add a little
Catherine,
comment
please
there?
jump right in.
I'm an Indigenous student. I'm a off-reserve member, band member of Millbrook First Nation, which is a Mi'kmaq community here in Nova Scotia. And there is a few Indigenous material in the foundation year program. But one thing I really appreciated when I was doing the program is when you're doing your research paper and there's two papers where you kind of get to lead the discussion or look into what you want to look into. And I had the opportunity to write on Jeff Barnaby's film Blood Quantum, which if you guys know anything about that, Jeff Barnaby is a Mi'kmaq director, and his film Blood Quantum is about like a zombie apocalypse in an Indigenous community. So I got to like look at these topics that I value a lot as an Indigenous student and different approaches into them. And I was able to do that in the foundation year program.
Thanks, Catherine. Okay, we have another question here about how essays are submitted in this program. Hard copy, online, how do we do that? Maybe this is a good one for either Michelle or Daniel to speak to.
I can answer that. Traditionally, FIP has had students submit hard copy essays in the old-fashioned way. This persisted for a very long time, but more recently, we've shifted to digital submission. So essays are submitted online on our online learning platform, which is called Brightspace. So students upload their essay files there, and their tutors will access those files, grade them online, and then submit the grades back to the students digitally as well. So it's a paperless process these days in FIP.
Great question. I'm just waiting for a moment to see if any more questions pop into either our chat or our little Q&A feature. I'm really delighted that we've already gotten questions about content, how the program works, questions about what student life is like. Thank you so much for those of you who are tuned in for being curious and asking questions in different ways. Since we have a little time, I'll also just mention everyone who registered for this webinar, you'll get a follow-up email from me sometime tomorrow, most likely, with just a reminder that you can reach out to me with any other questions that you have. If you don't feel like you want to ask them in this forum, if you'd like to just email me or set up a one-on-one meeting, we can totally do that. I mentioned this earlier, but we also have a bunch of other events coming up. We have other webinars that we're doing, a whole series of them on different topics. The next one that is coming up is all about our journalism program. We are doing a webinar called the Dal and Kings webinar, which is all about our relationship with Dalhousie and what we can offer across both campuses. We have one that is for international students who are coming to us from the United States. We have one that's for other international students coming to us from the rest of the world. We will have one in February about scholarships, another one about other types of financial aid. So there's a ton of virtual events, if you are interested in those, that you can sign up for. We also, another kind of interesting and exciting event that we have coming up very soon is an essay writing contest that we're doing. So if you are the type of person that enjoys writing, I'll include a link to this in the email that I send you, but we're doing a little essay writing contest. If you feel like writing us a short paper, there's a topic that we would like to encourage you to look into. And the winning essay is going to get published on the King's website, but also the writer of the winning essay is going to get a big gift certificate to the King's Campus Bookstore that would cover the total value of the books they need for the foundation year program. So if you'd like to get all your books for free and you enjoy writing, that might be the perfect opportunity for you. And then finally, if you are close to Halifax, please do consider coming to take a campus tour. Other next steps you can take, you can apply for admission if you haven't done that yet and you're in grade 12. You can also apply for residence. You can also get in touch with me directly. So those are all some things you can do after this webinar if you'd like to take some next steps. And I see that we have another question in the chat here, which is just how many applicants are there in most years? Okay, so great question, not one that I can easily answer for you. It really varies year to year. I wouldn't be too concerned, even though there is a limited number of students that we can accept overall in FIP. We can't accept more than would fit in our lecture hall. It's not a program where we usually would run a wait list, for example. So if you're interested in applying, you should apply. But I can't give you the statistics right off the bat, but exactly how many applicants we get year to year, because it really does vary depending on the year. Sorry, that's not a very exciting answer to that question. But you can always get in touch with me if you'd like more specific kind of demographic information. Oh, and then there's another question that's in our Q&A, which is, do we receive lecture notes before lectures? Daniel or Michelle, would you like to speak to that one? Do we receive lecture notes before lectures?
Well, before lectures, students will know, they'll have the reading in hand before lectures, so they'll certainly be able to prepare for the lecture with the reading. Some students require lecture notes, students who are for whatever reason unable to take notes, and usually the program has a note taker for those students as a kind of an accommodation if for whatever reason a student is unable to take notes themselves. So in both of these cases, the students should be well equipped before the lecture and directly after the lecture.
Okay, well, I really want to thank everyone for all of the good questions they've asked, and I'd really like to thank our student panelists and our faculty panelists for joining us today. I'll just reiterate again, everyone who's listening to the webinar right now or register for it, you'll get a follow-up email from me sometime tomorrow. It'll include a link to the video recording of the session, so you can go back and watch it again if you missed something. It'll also include some links to where you can book a campus tour, sign up for any of our other events, maybe sign up for that essay contest that I mentioned earlier, and hopefully be the winning essay that wins all of your FIT books for next year. If you have any questions about the application process, or you'd like to know more about what next steps you can take if you've already applied and been admitted, please do reach out to me. I'd be happy to hear from you. I'll put my email address right now in the chat. I'm at yolanawasserseig@ukings.ca if you'd like to reach me at any time. So with that, thank you so much for joining us. It was great to have you here. And thanks again to our panelists. And this is where we'll sign off. Take care. Have a great evening.